He enters year 3 at USF. The Bulls, Alex Golesh, the head football coach, joins us on 365 Sports. And, Coach, thank you very much. There was a tweet just a few weeks ago when Tennessee-Nebraska series was, interrupted, when Danny White said, we didn't cancel, we're looking for this and that, and you said, sup, what's up? I love your personality. I absolutely love that. I know you coached there at one point. Did Danny White call you back?
I'll keep that between us, but just a matter of I think timing on that one not working out. But you know what? More than anything, you want your guys to know that you'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime, and our schedule next year sets up to where we better be ready to rock and roll early, and I figured why not in 26 as well.
You anywhere, any place, any time, for a school like yours right now that is getting an influx of attention, of facilities, of all these things that are going on, is a really exciting philosophy. And what's it like to be a part of that, to be a school that is – USF is growing. I grew up down in Fort Myers, and it was not even close to what it was now when I was a kid.
Yeah, you know what? It's such a unique situation here. You know, we've played football here for 27 years, and you're in a place in a TV market that's huge. You know, I think it's the 11th biggest market now in the country. We got 53,000 students, and so you're right in Tampa. Obviously, where you guys are is big time high school football. Where we are is big time high school football, and so you're at a place where you're just 27 years in, and so you're trying to catch up as fast as you can in this climate of college football where time isn't probably on your side all the time, and you're trying to close this gap. And so, you know, for us, I think it's so big to go and play whoever we can that'll raise our profile. You know, there was a point about 10 years ago in the days of the Big East, I guess now 12 years ago, where you were in the same conference with Miami down the road. And so now you're not anymore. And so you're trying to get it to where you can set yourself up to where at the end of the year, you're playing to compete in the playoff and continue to raise the brand and continue to have awareness, especially here in the state, of who we are, what we're doing.
I guess that kind of plays into the question here, but year 3 now, your third spring, you guys got started earlier this month. I know you got Pro Day coming up tomorrow as well. What's the theme of year 3 of spring football with Alex Golesh down there in Tampa? What's kind of the theme of this offseason, I guess, if you will, in the ramp up to later on this year?
Yeah, you know, I think we inherited a program 2 years ago that had won 4 games in 3 years. So in a climate where you want instant results and you want things to happen really quickly, we had to get into this program and build a foundation of winning. You had to lay some sort of foundation for something that hadn't been done in a couple of years. And so for the first 2 years, we've just tried to learn the things it takes to win. You know, we got the same coordinators going into year 3. So you feel like you've got continuity. You feel like you've got this foundation laid of what it looks like to have success. And now for us this spring is identifying and pinpointing what our identity is going to be. And I think it's easy from a coach talk perspective to say, man, this is what I want our identity to be. But I think January, February, March, April is when you truly build your identity as a program, and certainly as a team. And so for us, it's been, what is our identity? What do we want it to be? And act that way all the time. And so as we go into year 3 here, we've learned how to win. We've learned why we failed, and we've grown. And now it's a matter of putting it all together and again, create this identity that through good and bad in the fall, we can overcome.
I'm sure you've talked about it with your colleagues before, and I'm sure you've seen the conversations going on with Deion Sanders and Fran Brown trying to put together some spring scrimmages and practices. What are your thoughts on that whole idea? And, you know, what would you add to it or like it, dislike about it? Just kind of where's your mind when it comes to crossover spring stuff?
Yeah, I think I think it's a matter of where you are in your program. You know, I think for both of those guys, and I'm obviously not sitting in their chairs for Prime going into year 3 and for Fran going into year 2, you feel like you have an idea of what your team is, and I think it's awesome. I think it could be super beneficial to go bang on somebody else for a couple of days. It would certainly be a big deal from a revenue generation, which is huge everywhere. Right now, it would give you another revenue stream in the spring, both from a TV standpoint and from a just getting butts in the seat standpoint. I think if I go back to year 1, I don't know that I would want to do that. I think you're trying to figure out exactly who you are and what you're doing. But I think, everybody that's canceling spring games and saying that it's a reason, giving the reason of man, we don't want our guys to be seen by people taking them in the portal, I think is kind of wild. I feel like that train has gone and passed at this point. So I think it would give you something to be excited about. I think it would give your guys something uniquely different at the end of spring to be excited about. And it would certainly give you the ability to generate revenue, which I think is critical, both I would think anywhere in the country right now. So I'd be all about it. I think we've talked in coaching circles about it for years. And I'm glad Prime said something publicly.
Alex, what is the Alex Golesh standard? How would you define that?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as being elite in everything we do. I'm really, really process driven, really process oriented. I think I learned a long time ago that you don't control the end result. All you control is your day to day. Control how you go to work every day. Control how you treat your teammates, coworkers, how you attack every single thing you do, and the mindset that you attack it with. And I think there's one way to do it, and that's an elite clip. And I think you continue to chase that level every single day. And I think that's really hard to do. It's hard for adults to do. I think it's even harder to do for 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. But I think it's our job to teach these young men how to do it. I think it's our job to hold them to the standard and never minimize the standard. And I think if we as leaders in the program, the coaches, live that way, teach that way, go about our business that way every single day, then the standard in the program is going to continue to go up. And I said it when I got here that we're going to get this place to an elite level. Well, we got to go to work that way every single day. And that's our standard. That's how we go about our business every single day. And it's us against us until the 12 Saturdays in the fall.
You guys have a bit of a unicorn this year in that you've got a quarterback who is back for his 3rd year in Byron Brown starting for you. What does that do for a spring practice to allow you to hit the ground running and also get reps from young guys because you know what you have a little bit more, and maybe Byron can get a little breather and stretch his legs during spring a little bit more than maybe he would have 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think a unique situation. Just because Byram 2 years ago won the job, had an incredible redshirt freshman year, went into last year as the starter and got hurt week 5. And, we had such an up and down early part of the season, played 2 top 10 teams early in the year. And for him to get his footing, he was just starting to come into his own and got hurt, missed the rest of the year for us. And so I think for him, more than anything, understanding the offense, understanding the system, understanding the parts around him, it's certainly next level. And he can kind of dive deep into what's the next level part of what we do offensively. I think for him, missing the last 8 games of the year last year, or at least most of the last 8 games of the year, I think he feels like he's got a lot to prove to himself, a lot to prove to his teammates for him to get back into being one of the best quarterbacks in the country, which is where he left off when he got hurt. And so it's definitely beneficial. I think it's huge for us to build around him the depth that we need in that room, but certainly the continuity with the receiver core and the rest of the offense here as we go through spring. So I think if you met Byram, you'd understand that he's not going to want to take a whole lot of days off.
Alex, I was looking at your schedule, and the 4 weeknight games is something that certainly stands out. I know, like here in Big 12 country, there's a lot more Friday night games for exposure, and that's the trade-off that you get. Do you have any particular feeling about playing more weeknight games? Is that kind of a pain? Is absolutely nothing in terms of much of a difference? Kind of how do you view that?
I think for us, anytime you could be on a national stage, it's a huge benefit. You want this logo, you want the brand out as much as you possibly can. I think anytime you get to be the only show on TV, in the American last handful of years, you've had this Friday night game, which has been huge. I think for our guys, it's always been exciting because it's the one night all your buddies across the country are sitting there in their hotel room getting ready for a game on Saturday, getting to watch you. Our guys have always gotten up for that. I think as these TV contracts have gotten to where they've gotten, you're going to get nationally televised games every night of the week. And I think as long as it falls well, whether it's after a bye week, the way ours end up falling is it's after a bye week or it's after another Friday night game. As long as you've got a week to prepare, I think it's all kind of relative. When you start moving days around in our circle or, in the building, it could be a Sunday and the guys will know it as a Tuesday, and they operate on the day of the week of the practice that it is. And I spent 5 years in the MAC. I think we were the originators of MACtion back then, where you'd come in on, it's a Wednesday and you're like, man, guys, it is a Thursday today. And literally on our board in our staff room when I was at the University of Toledo, we had a little sign that said today is, and then in a dry erase marker, I was responsible for writing what day of the week it was in football terms. So you start in the MAC, you started to lose track of what day it actually was because you were playing from a Tuesday to a Wednesday to a Thursday back to a Tuesday. You just knew what day of the week it was based on the game week.
Which coach in your career, and obviously Beckman, Matt Campbell, Josh Heupel, who's had, and I'm not asking you to pick your favorite child, but who has the best or maybe had the initial impact on you wanting to coach?
Yeah, I think honestly my high school coach, who's actually our director of player development here, Jeff Jones, was really the first person that I really wanted to be like in terms of professionally. He gave me my first job as a high school coach, and then Coach Tressel gave me an opportunity as a student coach back in the day. Mm-hmm. I really admired what he did, how he did it, how he went about the relationships with the players, and how he got guys to play really, really hard for him. But I've been fortunate enough to be around some really good football minds, some really good head coaches that I think as I got going and as I figured out my own style, as I figured out kind of what I wanted to be, who I wanted to kind of develop into as a teacher, as a coach, I think I got a little bit from everybody. And I've been fortunate enough, Matt's done an incredible job building that program at Iowa State. And I was there with him at Toledo. We were there together at Iowa State from the beginning. Getting to work with Josh at UCF, kind of seeing the tail end of the success there, and then going into a situation at Tennessee where we had to build from scratch. I think that's what prepared me for this opportunity was the several opportunities I had throughout my career to walk into a situation that wasn't awesome and build it. And I think that's why this job was so intriguing to me 2.5 years ago, why I wanted this one in particular, because there has been success here. You had a recruiting base, you had an investment from a university and from an administration, and I've done it at way tougher places. I know you guys cover the Big 12 really, really heavy, and certainly down there at Baylor, but to go into Ames, Iowa and be a part of building a program it certainly felt like it was going to be a little bit easier in Tampa just because of the talent pool in your own backyard. I don't know, 2.5 years later, I felt like it's been easy by any means, because it hasn't. But doing it there, doing it in Knoxville, doing it in Toledo, Ohio, doing it in Champaign, Illinois, I think all prepared me for this opportunity. And doing it with those different guys and seeing them do it a certain way, being involved in doing it a certain way, learning how I wanted to do it, at times learning how I didn't want to do it. But all really, really good experiences leading up to this opportunity.
How did the first 3 games of this schedule come about? Were you guys like truth or dare or something like that? Because this is
anywhere, anytime, anywhere, whatever.
Like Boise State, Florida, and Miami. That's as good as you can get. 3 games to I'll put it up against anybody's schedule in the season. Fun to watch. Those 3 games gonna be really cool. Yeah,
I think probably in a lot of ways that stuff's done so far ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had the same question when I first. but to get to play a premier team like Boise in terms of what they've been able to do, the last, 15, 20 years, certainly what they did a year ago, is a huge opportunity here at home on a Thursday night on national TV, in a packed out Ray J will be incredible for us. And then getting to go on the road and playing Florida and Miami. We played a year ago, played Bama and Miami, played Bama up there, played Miami here. And I think it's certainly easy to motivate throughout an off season when you know what's coming. But I think as we looked at it 3 years ago, it probably was because in a lot of ways, with a 4-team playoff, you felt like you had to go play a schedule with some premier teams on it to feel like, as a group of 5, the only way you were going to get in, similar to what Cincinnati did a couple of years ago, was going to be to play really, really good competition, to have quality wins at the end of the year. Probably a little bit different now with the 12-team playoff and as it continues to evolve. But when it was scheduled, they felt like that was the best thing to do. And you know what, for me, I think 3 games in, you'll know exactly where you are as a team to start the year off. You'll know exactly where you sit on a national landscape, and you'll feel really, really good, or you'll feel like, man, we got a long way to go. But the way our guys are working, it's easy to say, man, like, we got Boise coming in here. It's coming fast. Get your asses to work. And they've certainly done that so far.
Alex, last question. You guys have this new stadium that I read the article by Matt Baker, and of course this is a big deal for you. And we keep hearing about more and more separation at the top, even among Power 4 conferences. Is there a concern that you spend any time at all, by the time you get the stadium and by the time you start to beat teams, and you've done that before, that it might be too late? Or is that something you can concern yourself with?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think it's something that, from a media perspective, you probably gives you something to talk about. I think for us, again, I go back to, we're 27 years old as a football program. We've shared Ray J with the Bucks this entire time. It's an awesome home. It's certainly fun to pack that thing out. We've led the league in attendance my first 2 years here. So you're selling something really big in terms of being able to play in an NFL stadium on a huge stage. But from a college football standpoint, it's time, right? 28th football season. It's time we have something on campus. And what our administration's done is they said, you know what, we're not just going to build something as fast as we can and plop it up and say that's it. I think where our administration understands, and I give them a lot of credit, is that in this day and age, you're probably not going to do a whole lot of renovating in 10 years or 15 years. It's the same. We're building a football complex right next to it, which is going to be as nice as there is in the entire country. A huge, huge investment to a brand new football complex, because I think the understanding is you're only going to build that one time, because the way revenue is going right now, you're not going to be able to say, man, we're going to dump 30, 40 more million into an upgrade to a facility. Mm-hmm. And so is it going to be too late? That's an awesome question. I don't know. I think for us, it's not a cliche coach answer. I think all we can control is right now, today, what we're doing within the walls of this program to build a program that, as conference realignment happens and as things continue to evolve, and they're evolving really fast, obviously, that we're in the conversation. Like I said, you've got a school with 53,000 students. It's an AAU school. It's a top 45 public school in the entire country. You're in the number 11 media market in the country, and now we've got really good facilities already, but now you're building a brand new stadium that you're spending $350 million on campus. You're building a football complex that's second to none. We've got a brand new indoor facility sitting out here. Like you're making yourself a really, really good case to continue to grow into an upper echelon college football program. Well, my job is to win enough football games that people say, you know what, we want those guys in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not smart enough or have enough time in the day to worry about both. So I'm just going to worry about us putting together a program where we continue to win. We continue to win at a huge level, and then make somebody say, you know what, we want these guys to be a part of it. And that's what I got hired 2.5 years ago to do. And I come in every day and work like crazy to make sure that whenever that time comes, we're in the conversation of major college football.
Alex, I've never met you. Hope I do one day. I love your attitude. Appreciate it, Coach, very much. Good luck with what you're building there, and good luck this upcoming season, too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all having me on. Go Bulls.
Alex Golesh, head coach at USF, the Bulls in Tampa. My oldest brother, Robert, went there for a little while. He spent a lot of time there. He never graduated from USF.